Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my Cedar Point Recreation Park. In the last episode we built up more of the Gemini Midway, got a couple big coasters down. I realized almost as soon as I finished recording that episode that we forgot one coaster, the Wilderness Run, previously known as Junior Gemini, which is hiding behind Pipe Scream behind a bunch of trees. A coaster that I've never ridden, I don't believe, which is why I had forgotten it. Fortunately, it wasn't too difficult to just kind of move Pipe Scream and the Midway forward a few tiles to give room for that coaster. It has a pretty simple layout, so not a whole lot going on there, just a figure eight. It doesn't even do extra laps, which I thought was kind of weird, but I guess it's supposed to be, baby's first coaster kind of situation. As with Wilderness Run, though, we still had some issues getting a coaster into a smaller footprint, even when it's just such a simple layout like this. I think what we have here is going to work out okay. It's going to be a little bit cramped getting the other rides in Camp Snoopy in here. The shoestrung rides are going to be a little bit difficult to piece together probably. Hopefully it won't be too bad when we get there. And we're also continuing to lay out where some more things like parking lots and streets are going to wind up being. We're getting close to being able to connect the two midways together at the back of the park. The area behind the Cedar Creek Mine Ride is where the recently departed antique cars are located. Actually, I'm not sure if they're recently departed, if they have torn them out yet, or they're going to. They're not long for this world either way, but they're going to live on in my build, as we don't know what's going to go there yet, kind of like Wicked Twister, so I figured I might as well throw them in here. And this part of the park is going to really help us connect the Gemini Midway and Frontier Town areas and get the park layout almost complete. As far as the inside of the park goes, there's still a lot of outside areas like the hotel areas and backlots and things like that. And a little bit of a problematic ride with Snake River Falls, the splash boat ride. If you have seen a photo of it, it's got kind of a figure eight layout with a weird diagonal that doesn't really fit into my map at least, so I decided to switch it into just a simple loop. Not super satisfying that we have to make these kinds of concessions, but I figure with kind of a more minor ride like this, it's not as huge of a deal if we change the layout a little bit. Because unfortunately with the splash boat rides, there's no diagonals at all, so there's not a whole lot we can do about it. And finally, to wrap our day up today, I decided to go ahead and throw down a build for Maverick, one of my favorite coasters at the park. I have already done a build of this for the DKMP ride recreation contest late last year, so I'm pretty familiar with how this ride goes in RCT. I didn't just drop my pre-build design of it onto my map since the scale was a little bit off. I just decided to go ahead and rebuild this one from scratch. This one is a pretty fun ride to build, and I'm perfectly happy to build it a second time. You can see that I'm using Twister Track for this build since it's got some elements in it that the Giga Coaster does not have. But I will be converting this to use the proper Giga Coaster style track a little bit later on once I am a little bit farther along with the build. We'll have to use a bit of dummy track here and there for the corkscrews and the vertical drop. Not a huge deal, done it before, so it's not difficult. Plus, the Giga Coaster does give us faster boosters, so the second half of the layout will be taken at a more reasonable speed. Currently, it's a little bit slow, even though it does make it around. What is nice about this episode is that this ride really does, like I said, glue together the two halves of the park that we've been building towards. Things seem to be fitting pretty nicely together, which means that I feel like I have done a pretty good job of getting things laid out together and sized correctly. And I think we're going to be able to fit everything in the way we want to as the park continues to unfold. So it should be pretty safe to start adding in more paths and start getting some buildings and more flat rides in here. I've been holding off on some of this stuff because I'm not sure if I want to do any more elevation changes. You can see I've done quite a bit of work with adding bodies of water, but I'm not sure if I want to make any other changes to the terrain elevation. I probably won't, aside from just the beaches. Even though things look pretty flat, I feel like once we start adding in more decorations, it's going to help bulk things out, and you won't be able to notice that the park is super flat everywhere. But I will think about that some more and see how things go. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. We've only got one coaster left to build, which is crazy to think that we're already at that point. But as I keep saying, there's still a lot left to do with all the other minor rides and buildings and infrastructure and everything like that. So still many more episodes to go. We're going to end with a little ride-on of Maverick. As always, if you've got any comments, suggestions, let me know. Hope you enjoyed watching me build, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.